Part 1. At the Broken Moon and the Human Promise, the twin sons of Orthelion burned crimson over the shattered moon, their light glinting off the jagged plains of obsidian. Once a proud world of the Lurai Dominion, it was now a graveyard of abandoned outposts and fallen warriors. The air shimmered with magnetic storms, and ash drifted like black snow. Captain Eli Vance adjusted his helmet seal and stepped off his drop shuttle. The mission was simple on paper: recover surviving assets from the old Lurai colony, extract any civilians, and return before the storms hit critical density. But nothing about Orthelion ever stayed simple. He was Humana, one of the Terran liaisons sent to stabilize the region after the war. The locals still looked at humans with a mix of awe and fear. They called them the species that survived extinction 1,000 times. To Eli, that was just a fancy way of saying humanity refused to die, even when the universe begged them to. His boots crunched across the black glass ground. The scanner blinked weakly in his gauntlet. Life signs detected. Faint. Deep inside the ruins of what used to be the Lurai Command Citadel. He descended into the hollow corridors, where murals of winged beasts and ancient kings glowed faintly under layers of dust. Then he heard Ida's soft, faint sound, almost a song. He raised his rifle, moving carefully. Through the fractured walls, he found her. A young Lurai woman lay half buried beneath debris. Her silver hair glowed faintly, her violet eyes unfocused. She was wounded, one wing broken, armor scorched from plasma burns. Around her, 4 body Lurai guards had been executed. Whoever did this hadn't left survivors. Easy now, Eli said, lowering his weapon. I'm not here to hurt you. Her gaze flicked toward him, wary, defiant. Humana Broken Bar, why are you still here? The Empire has fallen. Your kind has no reason to stay. Maybe I don't need one, he replied. But you do. You're not dying here. She tried to rise, snarling weakly. You showed them my bloodline is hunted. They'll come for you too. Eli shrugged. Then we'll give them a reason to regret that. He dug through his medkit, activating a stimpulse patch and pressing it against her skin. The patch hissed, glowing as it knitted to bore tissue. She flinched, then exhaled in disbelief. Your broken bar helped me. That's what we do, Eli said softly. Humans, we take care of the ones everyone else left behind. He lifted her carefully, carrying her toward the surface as plasma storms began to brew on the horizon. Lightning ripped across the sky, reflecting in her eyes. What's your name? He asked over the roar. Sarai, she murmured. Daughter of the Alpha of Lurai. That name hit like a plasma round. The Alpha of Lurai had been one of the warlords who stood against the Terran coalition during the final siege. If she was his daughter, then she was supposed to be dead or worse, executed as a war criminal. But Eli looked down at her, frail and trembling, and didn't see a war criminal. He saw someone terrified and alone. When they reached his shuttle, she clutched his hand. You shouldn't save me. If the Dominion learns you took me, they'll burn your world. Eli grinned under his cracked visor. Lady, they've been trying to burn my world for 3 centuries. Humanity's gotten pretty good at putting out fires. He took off, engines screaming as the storm closed in behind them. Through the viewport, the red lightning painted her face in ghostly light. Why? She whispered again. Why risk everything for me? Because someone once did the same for us, he said. Now it's our turn. The shuttle soared into orbit, leaving behind the broken moon and with it, the moment that would change 2 empires forever. 3 years passed. On the edge of coalition space, hidden deep within a human frontier colony, Sarai lived quietly under human protection. She worked on a med lab, learned Terran languages, and helped rebuild refugee camps. Her broken wing never healed fully, but she never complained. Eli visited often, pretending it was for security checks, though everyone knew better. She teased him about his bad cooking and outdated music taste. He teased her about her formal Lurai posture and the way she still addressed him as captain. Some nights they sat under the colony's twin moons, talking about everything and nothing. She taught him the Lurai tongue. He taught her how to swear in 5 human dialects. There were smiles, glances, silences that said more than words could. But shadows grew beyond their small world. The Dominion was rebuilding, and whispers spoke of the Admiral of Rebirth, a fanatic bent on purging all who consorted with humans. And when the first raids began, Eli knew peace was over. The day the Dominion fleet appeared over the colony, Sarai stood beside him on the command platform. The human militia scrambled, outnumbered 5-1. Eli tightened his gloves. Guess we're back to putting out fires. Sarai's eyes burned like twin suns. Then let them see what happens when a Lurai stands with a human. Part 2. As the storm breaks and the bond awakens, the first plasma strike split the night sky like a sword of light. Sirens wailed across the human colony of Harkon 12 as the Dominion fleet descended. Sleek silver cruisers, wings of molten glass reflecting the stars. Dust storms rolled through the valleys as defensive cannons came alive, spitting streaks of red energy into the heavens. Eli Vance sprinted through the control center, barking orders: evacuate the cities, power shields to sectors 3 through 7, keep the outer batteries online. The militia scrambled to obey, a patchwork of miners, settlers, and retired soldiers. Humans weren't built for empire-scale wars anymore, but they had something the Dominion never understood. They fought hardest when defending their own. Sarai stood beside him, clad in hybrid armor, human steel reinforced with Lurai biofiber that shimmered faintly around her damaged wing. Her eyes glowed violet as she scanned the tactical map. They're herding the civilians toward the canyon, cutting off escape. Eli slammed his fist on the console. Then we'll open the canyon ourselves. He grabbed his pulse rifle and turned to her. You stay here. Coordinate the med teams. But she stepped forward, voice firm. Number: if they see me alive, they'll hesitate. My blood still carries the Alpha's mark. Eli hesitated. Sarai, they'll kill you. Then let them try, she said, wings flexing. You humans taught me what courage means. For a heartbeat, they locked eyes. The sound of explosions trembled through the floor. Then he nodded. All right, princess, let's go start rebellion. They rode together in an armored crawler through the burning dunes. Plasma bolts rained down, scattering sand like meteors. Eli manned the turret while Sarai guided them through old Lurai tunnels buried beneath the colony, forgotten escape routes her ancestors once used. As they emerged behind the Dominion advance line, Eli saw the enemy camp, rows of grav tanks, banners of obsidian and gold, soldiers in insect carapace armor moving in perfect formation, and at the center a towering figure in crimson armor, the Admiral of Rebirth himself. Eli's jaw tightened. So the monster finally crawls out of the dark. Sarai's voice dropped. He was once my father's right hand. He believes the Alpha betrayed our destiny by surrendering to peace, and now he's here to finish what your war started. She touched his hand lightly. Number: what our peace began. They waited until dusk, then moved like ghosts through the lines. Using human cloaking fields and Lurai psychic dampeners, they infiltrated the supply hub. Every motion was solid precision, hand signals, quick breaths, shared trust built over 3 years of survival. When the first explosion ripped through the fuel cells, the entire camp erupted in chaos. Dominion soldiers screamed commands in Lurai dialects, scattering as fire consumed their tanks. Eli grinned. Guess subtlety's overrated. Sarai laughed softly, even as her eyes gleamed with tears. You humans truly make war look like art. He was about to reply when a plasma bolt tore through the air, grazing his shoulder. He fell hard, pain searing. Sarai screamed, rushing to his side. Enemy troopers surrounded them, weapons drawn. The Admiral stepped through the smoky massive, imposing, his armor pulsing with bio-light. Well, he growled. The traitor's cub lives, and the human who corrupted her stands by her side. Sarai spread her wings protectively over Eli. You're wrong. He saved me when you abandoned our kind to vengeance. Saved you? The Admiral laughed. He turned you into a pet. Before he could strike, Sarai's hand pressed to the wound on Eli's shoulder. Her eyes flared brighter, and the air shimmered around them with violet fire. What are you? Eli gasped. She whispered, a Lurai soul bond. It heals a broken bar, but it links life to life. Energy surged through his veins. The pain vanished, replaced by warmth and overwhelming flood of memories, sensations. He saw flashes of her childhood under the crystal trees of Lurai Prime, her father teaching her to fly, the night she was left behind to die. She saw him amid the fires of Earth's wars, the loneliness of command, the moment he chose compassion over orders. Their hearts beat as one. When Eli arose, his eyes blazed with faint violet light matching hers. The Dominion soldiers stepped back in fear. The Admiral hissed, "Abomination." Eli leveled his rifle. "Nah, we call it teamwork." They fought like a storm. Sarai's psychic wings tore through the air, deflecting plasma. Eli's shots hit with impossible precision. Guided by her instincts, every motion flowed together. Human grit and alien grace intertwined. Within minutes, the enemy line shattered. But the Admiral wasn't done. He slammed his blade into the ground, summoning an energy shockwave that threw them apart. "You think love will save you?" he roared. "Your bond is weakness." Sarai struggled to her feet, wings bleeding light. "Then I will show you how weak we are." She touched Eli's chest, whispering a chant. The ground pulsed beneath a deep, ancient rhythm. Suddenly, the sand itself rose, swirling into figures of light, spectral wolves, guardians of the Alpha bloodline. They howled, charging into the Dominion ranks. The Admiral's army broke under the assault, fleeing into the night. When silence fell, Eli looked around in disbelief. "You could do that all this time?" She smiled faintly. "It only works when the bond is true." He laughed, shaking his head. "Remind me to never argue with you again." But before they could celebrate, her body swayed. The ritual had drained her, her glow dimming. He caught her, holding her close. "Hey, stay with me," he whispered. She smiled weakly. "I told you a broken bar. Our bond links life to life. If one fades a broken bar." He pulled her closer, eyes fierce. "Then neither of us fades." The night wind howled over the burning battlefield, carrying with it the scent of ozone and victory. As dawn broke over the dunes, the two of them stood side by side, bloodied, bound, and defiant. And somewhere, deep in the Dominion fleet, the surviving soldiers send a message back to their high command. The Alphas cub lives, and she fights with the humans. Part 3. The Legion of Fire and Promise. The smoke of battle clung to the desert for days, a scar that refused to fade. Human scavenger crews and Lurai refugees worked side by side, burying the fallen and salvaging what they could. The victory at Harkon 12 was small, yet it spread through the outer systems like wildfire. Whispers became hope, hope became movement. The message carried across pirate channels, mercenary fleets, even hidden Dominion colonies. Greater than the Alpha's daughter fights for the humans. By the time the first Allied convoy arrived, the story had already become legend. Sarai, the lost cub of the Alpha and the Tyron soldier who defied an empire. Eli watched the landing bay fill with newcomers, weathered pilots, alien smugglers, even old Dominion defectors. They came not for gold or power but for the promise of something neither side had ever, for a freedom without chains. He found Sarai in the hangar, overseeing the modification of a captured grav carrier. Her once damaged wing now glimmered with cybernetic filaments, forged from both human and Lurai tech. She looked stronger, sharper every inch, the warrior princess her people once dreamed of. "You're building an army," Eli said, leaning against a crate. She glanced over, smiling faintly. "A legion, the first of its kind, of human engineers, Lurai pilots, even the troll from the Rimworlds. Everyone the Empires forgot." He raised a brow. "That's a lot of trust for people who tried to kill us last week." Her eyes softened. "You once said humans survive because they refuse to die. Maybe we'll survive because we refuse to hate." I couldn't help smiling. "That's dangerously optimistic, even for you." "Then it's a good thing you're here to balance me out." For a moment, the war faded. Just two souls standing amid half-built ships and sparks of light. He wanted to tell her what her presence meant, how her laughter had become the sound of home, but alarms shattered the calm. "Admiral's forces regrouping." A voice crackled over the comm. "They're hitting supply lines in 3 sectors. We're running out of time." Sarai's jaw tightened. "He's forcing us to defend everywhere at once." Eli frowned at the tactical map. "Or he's trying to draw you out. You've become the symbol. If he kills you, the Legion dies with you." She looked at him, eyes fierce. "Then we make sure I'm not the only symbol." The following weeks forged the Legion in fire. Humans tout the Lurai guerrilla tactics, so how to fight dirty, think sideways, improvise when everything went wrong. The Lurai shared their psychic warfare whisper links, energy shield shaped by willpower, meditative rituals that healed body and mind. Eli trained squads in atmospheric combat while Sarai led psychic drills beneath the crystal canyons. Every night, they returned to the command tent exhausted, laughing at mistakes and sharing stolen meals under the starlit veil. One evening, as the comp lights dimmed, Sarai approached him carrying 2 cups of the sweet, glowing Lurai drink called Sharon. "Peace treaty," she said playfully, offering a cup. He took it, smirking. "Didn't know we were at war with each other." Always. They drank, sitting close. The bond between Thema, born of battle, sealed by ritual, hummed softly, alive. She spoke quietly. "When my father left me in that bunker, he said I would rise again under new stars. I thought he meant vengeance. Now I think he meant this." Eli watched the firelight dance across her face. "You think he'd approve of you leading humans?" "I think he'd be proud I chose compassion over conquest." He touched her hand, fingers brushing hers. "Then he'd be proud of both of us." Their closeness hung between Thema electric, unspoken. Her wings shifted slightly, brushing his shoulder. Then the comm unit blared again, dragging them back to war. The next day, the Admiral struck a surprise offensive on the outpost of Kiranina where the Legion's supply convoys converged. Eli led the response, commanding hybrid fighter wings while Sarai coordinated psychic defense grids from orbit. The battle was chaos. Dominion cruisers rained plasma, human corvettes started through firestorms, and telepathic Lurai pilots fought until their minds bled through the bond. Eli felt fear, determination, and something deeper pulsing like a heartbeat through the static. Then came betrayal. One of the human captains who Commander Dracena turned his guns on their own fleet, striking from within. Half their formation burned. The Admiral's voice echoed over the wideband. "Greater than, see how fragile your trust is, human. They will always choose themselves." Rage burned through Eli. "Sarai, we can't hold the linea." "Then we move the line," she snapped. "Linked to me? Now." He closed his eyes. Their minds merged again, deeper than before. Pain, exhaustion, love. Together they projected a psychic pulse through every Legion ship, amplifying courage, unity, defiance. "Every world has told us we don't belong," Eli shouted through comms. "So let's belong to each other." The Legion roared back. Ships rallied, engines igniting like suns. They tore through the Dominion fleet with impossible precision, every pilot moving as if guided by one shared instinct of the bond of human and Lurai hearts. In the end, the Admiral's armada broke apart, vanishing into hyperspace. The traitor Dreezen's ship exploded under combined fire. The silence that followed was deafening. Hours later, as they drifted in orbit above the ruined outpost, Eli stood beside Sarai on the observation deck. Wreckage glittered like starlight below. "You saved us again," he said softly. She shook her head. "We saved us." Her voice faltered. "But the Admiral won't stop. He's gathering the old warlords. Soon he'll come himself." Eli looked at her reflection in the viewport, of violet eyes filled with weary determination. "Then we make our stand." Sarai turned toward him. "You'd die for this?" He met her gaze. "I'd live for it. For you." The words hung in the air, raw and real. She reached up, touching his cheek with trembling fingers. "You humans," she whispered, "you make forever sound possible." Their foreheads met, breath mingling. For a moment, the universe held its breath as two hearts from different worlds beating in sync against the dark. And deep in the void, the Admiral's fleet gathered once more, his crimson flagship burning brighter than any star. The final war was coming, but this time, humanity and the Lurai would face it together. Part 4 Ratha Alpha's Legacy. The stars above Orthelion burned brighter than ever before, with the same broken moon where Eli had first found Sarai now hung shattered but defiant, hallowed in the light of hundreds of warships. The final battle had come home. Across the system, the Legion of Fire prepared for its stand. Human frigates and Lurai cruisers drifted side by side, their hulls marked with the twin emblems of both races, the human phoenix and the Lurai Alpha sigil, entwined. In the command deck of the flagship Unity's Edge, Eli Vance stared at the tactical map. The Dominion fleet was massive via 5-to-1 odds Saga, but he wasn't afraid. Not anymore. Beside him stood Sarai, clad in luminous armor of white and violet, her eyes burning with quiet power. "Looks bad," Eli said lightly. "It always does before humans win," she replied with a faint smile. He chuckled. "You've been spending too much time around us." "Not enough," she whispered, just loud enough for him to hear. They turned to the fleet. Across the comms, voices of every species in the Legion echo: integrating miners, psychic warriors, old veterans, idealistic youths, every one of them ready to die for something greater. Eli's voice cut through the channel. Greater than this is Captain Vance of the Unity's Edge. They called us weak, they called us broken, but we built something no empire ever could. A family. Today, we show the stars what that means. Sarai's voice followed, soft yet resonant. Greater than I am Sarai of Lurai, daughter of the Alpha who dreamed of peace. I fight not to rule but to heal. Stand with us, and our children will inherit a sky without masters. A roar of approval thundered through the frequencies. Then space lit up as the Dominion fleet dropped out of warp. Towering dreadnoughts wreathed in red energy, led by the Admiral of Rebirth himself. The battle began as light and sound became chaos. Fleets collided in burning arcs, plasma and rail fire shredding through void and armor alike. Human corvettes danced between cruisers, while Lurasianics projected shimmering shields across allies in impossible synchrony. On the bridge, Eli commanded like a conductor of destruction. Squad Gamma flanked the carrier line. Delta Wing pushed their shields through the bond. Sarai felt everything at his pulse, his focus, his resolve. She amplified it, spreading calm through the psychic net. Every ship that might have faltered found new strength through her. But then the Admiral's flagship turned its guns toward them. The first salvo struck hard as shields buckled. Alarm screamed. The hull tore open across the outer decks. The Unity's Edge reeled, burning. Sarai steadied herself, wings flaring. He's targeting you. He knows if you fall, morale breaks. Then let's make sure I don't fall. Eli, she said softly, touching his arm. If this fails, it won't. His voice was steady, certain. Because we have something he'll never understand. He took her hand. Their bond flared, two lights merging into one. They launched aboard the strike craft Valor 1, diving straight toward the Admiral's dreadnought. Enemy fighters swarmed, but the pair moved as only Eli piloting, Sarai channeling psychic shields that shimmered like auroras. Plasma bolts glanced off harmlessly. Every motion, every breath, perfectly synchronized. Approaching the hangar bay, Eli shouted. Sarai closed her eyes. I can feel him. His mind up. It's a broken bar rage. Nothing else. Then let's give him something new to think about. They crashed through the enemy hangar, landing amid explosions. Dominion troopers rushed forward, but Sarai unleashed a psychic wave that sent them sprawling. Eli followed with precise rifle fire, clearing a path toward the core corridor. They reached the Admiral's throne chamber, a vast hall of obsidian, glowing with crimson runes. The Admiral stood at its center, his armor alive with energy, eyes burning like suns. So, he sneered, the Alpha's cub returns to die beside her pet human. Sarai stepped forward. I return to end your madness. He raised his blade. You think love makes you strong? Eli lifted his rifle. Number. It makes us unstoppable. The fight erupted. The Admiral moved with inhuman speed, striking with telekinetic force that shattered steel. Eli countered with explosive rounds while Sarai shielded him, her psychic energy colliding with the Admiral's in arcs of light. Sparks rained like stars when the Admiral hurled a blast of crimson energy. Sarai absorbed it through sheer will, but the strain was too much. She fell to her knees, wings flickering. Sarai. Eli caught her before she hit the ground. She looked up, eyes dimming. Endless. Eli turned, fury boiling through him, but not rage, not hatred. Love. The bond ignited fully, wrapping them both in a luminous aura. Their minds merged completely, and no longer two beings, but one soul with two hearts. Eli's voice echoed through her and beyond. You wanted to see human strength? This is it. Together, they unleashed the bond's full power. Violet fire erupted, consuming the chamber. The Admiral's armor cracked. His weapon melted. He roared, but the energy swallowed him whole, an explosion of light that tore the dreadnought apart from within. Outside, the Legion watched as the Admiral's ship broke apart, fragments scattering like dying embers across the void, and then silence. Hours later, the survivors found the wreckage drifting near Barthelion's moon. Valor 1 floated among the debris, engines dead but hull intact. Inside, Eli and Sarai lay unconscious, hands still clasped. When the medics revived them, the psychic link shimmered brighter than ever. The war was over. The Dominion fractured, its chains broken. The Legion became more than an army, it became a covenant. Humans, Lurai, and countless others rebuilding the stars together. Weeks passed. On the green world of Epsilon Haven, a new capital rose. Statues of a human soldier and a Lurai princess stood at its heart, and not as conquerors, but as guardians of peace. Eli stood with Sarai on a balcony overlooking the twin suns. Childrina, human, and Lurai Alakia played below, their laughter echoing through the gardens. Among them were two small figures with silver eyes and dusky skin, chasing each other through the light. Our cubs, Sarai said softly, smiling. They carry both worlds in them. Eli slipped an arm around her shoulders. Guess the alpha knew what he was doing after all. She tilted her head. How so? He left his cubs in human care. He looked at her, smiling, and they came back leading a legion. She laughed quietly, resting her forehead against his. Together, then, always. The sun set in a blaze of gold and violet. Across the galaxy, the story of a human captain and an alien princess passed from world to world, and not as a legend of war, but as a promise that love could rebuild what empires destroyed. And somewhere, in the ruins of the old Lurai citadel, the wind carried an echo.